So I'm going to level with you guys. This game is not great, and the normal difficulty is very artificially difficult, and it's torturesome. Worse than playing through Mindjack, so we're going to play on easy.
Colonel Susan Velasco will be your commanding officer on this operation. Try not to piss her off. She's liable to ram her fist up your ass and work you like a puppet.
Yeah, I taught her how to do that.
I see. Let me patch her in.
Pierce, how they hanging, Blanco?
Velasco, you crazy bitch. Glad you're still alive. You ready for this?
Man, I got butter knives in my stomach.
Colonel, don't you mean butterflies?
No.
Ah, right. Well, good hunting, soldiers.
Talk to me, Colonel.
Primary objective is to get the hostages out. Secondary, eliminate all hostiles. Tertiary, seize all available intel. Karen is especially interested in something called Ignotum, but no one seems to know what it is exactly.
Orders confirmed. Slit throats and rescue hostages. In that order.
Absolutely, Lieutenant. Get in there. Grab the hostages and get out. If you see anything that gives us an idea what we're up against, feel free to...
Negative. I only took this job because you said I'd get another shot at the Al-Azraq hierarchy. So here I am.
And it's gameplay time. This game's main selling point was that the gameplay took place underwater a lot, but the underwater sections take up about less than half of the game, honestly. They're still kinda cool, I guess. We have a little underwater jetpack.
Visual on hostile divers.
Al-Azraq?
Negative. Too high-tech.
So underwater, instead of traditional third-person aiming, we get a lock-on, making the underwater shooting quite a bit different than when we're above water, making it a lot more arcadey. We just lock on and strafe. So I said earlier that this game was torturous on normal difficulty. That is because the enemies have way too much health, and it is way too easy for you to die. And upon turning it to easy, I found out the game design was the same. It just was tolerable.
Another drone. Some kind of robotic eel.
High-tech diving suits, robotic drones. Something's wrong.
No, I'm sure there's nothing obviously weird going on here. This is perfectly normal. And we're still going to get to fight the terrorists, and nothing is wrong at all. These robotic eels, as Pierce put it, are the easiest enemies in the game. We just smash circle when they run up to us, or swim up to us, I guess. You didn't actually get to see the steam current, but it would have prevented us from moving forward by pushing us back. Sometimes we can move past currents using our jetpack, but this was not one of those times. Even on normal mode, enemies that you have to use QTEs to defeat are really easy.
Got a visual. Guards on the bridge.
You can take them out quietly with your harpoon.
Acknowledged.
So one of my favorite mechanics in this game, even though it's not deep, is that we can drag people underwater with our harpoon if we get close enough. And kill them under here and leave them to drown. It's not really deep. Pun intended. You might have seen that we can push switches with our harpoon. That's not really deep either. You just lock on and press L2. Most of the game takes place above water, like I said. And it's a cover-based shooter. Very cover-based. The only gun we have right now is the submachine gun. It's a long-range weapon, and it's pretty accurate. It doesn't even get less accurate the farther you shoot it. It's going to be our best friend through most of the game because it's the most reliable gun. There's really nothing we can't use it against. It's also the only gun that functions entirely normally underwater. All of the other guns work differently underwater except for this one. Well, most of them work differently underwater. I wanted to come over here to show you that there's an extra room with ammo in it. But our ammo's already full. We picked up ammo from the dead guys. Headshots do more damage. I didn't actually know they did more damage in normal mode, because they took so many bullets to the face before dying. Yeah, they took so many hits to the face, it didn't even occur to me that the headshots might be doing more damage. As opposed to in easy mode, where when you unload an entire clip into their face, they actually die. These mines slowly move toward us, and I have a real hard time shooting them before they reach us. They're only a problem when there's more than one at a time, though. If they're spread out well enough, then they're just not a big deal at all. We won't die. I like the way that the suit lets off pressure when we leave the water. I think that's pretty neat, honestly. There's a logo over there on the wall that says IHS, and if you remember from the intro, we shouldn't be seeing that logo in here. So something, as was heavily implied already, is very wrong with this mission.
Situation report.
Colonel, this mission is fragged. No terrorists, no hostages. These guys are corporate soldiers. They've got IHS insignia.
Ishiguro Himmel Systems.
Can't tell what, but this whole thing is hinky.
I'm gonna grill Sterling.
Copy.
There are a lot of points in the game where we have to raise the water to get further. And in case you didn't know, Sterling is the name of the general that we received the mission from. Someone up there trying to shoot at us. And I wanted to get in a good position to drag them down, but they were too far back, so we're just going to have to go up and confront them directly. The characters in this game seem to have also, when an enemy gets close enough, a quick time event triggers, and that was a really good scream. The characters in this game seem to have amnesia. Keep in mind that we just figured out that the people here work for IHS. We just figured that out. Keep that in mind for later.
Visual on some kind of drone.
Careful. Looks like it's got motion scanners.
How do I disable it?
Try to hit the scanners with your harpoon.
The scanning drones add literally nothing to the design, and I'm not sure why they're there.
Never heard of Al Azrod using unmanned vehicles before.
So do you think maybe, that we're not going to fight Al Azrod? I'm just asking, Pierce. Maybe that's not what's happening here. Maybe we've been lied to? I don't want to make assumptions.
Visual on more hostiles. They vibe corporate security.
Kill them. Check their corpses for insignia.
This game, of course, has explosive barrels, which are often right next to places enemies take cover.
Hostiles are corporate. They work for Ishiguro Himmel Systems.
IHS? Why would Sterling send us after corporate security guards?
Do you see what I mean? We just figured out, not 5 minutes ago, that IHS was involved, and everybody seems to have forgotten. The most basic enemy has a submachine gun like us, but an enemy we killed just now has a shotgun, and they can be deadly, but really only at close range.
Picked up a shotgun.
Copy
The shotgun is my favorite weapon in spite of us not getting to use it very much in this game.
Should be up ahead.
Roger that.
It has a lot more use than you would think because the range is a lot better than in some other third-person shooters with shotguns. There is no super close range in this game, so the shotgun has to reach farther. It's also useful because, unlike the submachine gun, we only have to poke our head up for a spare second to shoot at someone's face. It's really just a game of who's the idiot that pokes their head up first. There are universal ammo boxes in addition to individual ammo that you get from guns that enemies drop.
LT, I got word to General. He's going to patch in with some updated intel.
There's no sense in pushing forward if the objective can't be completed.
Negative. General says move in. Neutralize hostiles.
Still no hostages, Colonel. Got some kind of tech lab.
Pierce,
General Sterling, sir, what the...
no time for explanations. You need to infiltrate the labs, locate the fuel converter, and secure any prototype weapons you can find.
Prototype weapons? Fuel converter? What happened to the terrorists and the hostages?
The facts as presented were not completely in sync with the realities of the situation. No use crying over spilled blood, son. Just complete your mission. Sign off.
Not good.
Signing off.
Contact. Unarmed. Engineers, mechanics.
Don't engage unless you have to.
We can sneak past this guy, but most of the engineers later will try to fight us. In spite of them saying that they're not hostile. They definitely are.
Weapons free.
So the dialogue in this game is kind of laughable, makes it hard to take the story seriously. I still try to, but I feel like they were both trying way too hard and not trying enough at the same time. And that is a very strange vibe. Many times enemies will have this compulsion to run at us and trigger a QuickTime event. And it's easy to complete, but the reason they do that is because we can still get shot at while we're completing the QuickTime event. And in normal mode, completing a QuickTime event at all while you were being shot at would kill you instantly. You have a few seconds to get back in cover in easy mode, at least. There are two kinds of explosive barrels, and one of them appears to be an EMP charge. They act the same, though, in spite of them having different graphical effects. I think the music in this game is pretty good, if a bit generic. It's well composed. However, there are very few tracks. We'll be hearing this track throughout the entire game. Sometimes I hesitate in spite of having played this game far too much in practice. Because in normal mode, a single stray bullet can end you, and you don't heal very fast. The more damage you take, the less quickly you heal, actually, which is a decent mechanic, but you take damage so hard and so fast in normal mode that it was really, really painful to play. I'm just telling you all of this because the game looks entirely tolerable in easy mode. It looks like you could actually play it as a normal person. We can also harpoon enemies that are already underwater, but shooting them seems to work much better. This game doesn't really implement any kind of tactics. You move from one area with cover to the next area with cover, and you take cover, and you sit there. And that's about it. It's not a game where there's multiple ways to approach a situation. I bet you're a little tired of seeing these guys. I've seen them so often that they don't even faze me anymore. It is worth noting, I think, that this game was made by an independent developer. It looks pretty good graphically considering that, but it's still not a very good game in the actual game department. This game probably to a lot of people seemed really soulless, and I can understand why they would think that, but there's a couple reasons I disagree. One of them being that this developer is incredibly obsessed with water, and all the games they make are based around water in some way. I feel like this was something they actually really wanted to make. When there's only one enemy, we can melee kill them easily, but there's not really one enemy ever. Aside from just a couple spots. Something I rather like is when games implement cover that seems organic. Deep Black does not do that very well. There are some places way later in the game where it does, but this is not one of them. They're just weird boards sitting here that serve no other purpose than for people to duck behind them and shoot at each other. It's very weird.
Watch it, LT. Auto turret.
I noticed, but thank you.
Auto turrets always fire for a pre-designated period of time, so it's just about waiting until they stop. They're only difficult to deal with if they're either close or combined with a huge array of other enemies. Really, most of this level is just shooting at other guys across the room from you on a flat surface. That's what a large portion of the whole game is. And I feel bad for dissing on this game so much, but it's really not very good. And I only wanted to share it because so few people will ever see it. And it's kind of a curiosity. For some reason we can't do anything in this really important looking room. You figure we could get data from it or something. Again, I hesitate. Here's a turret that's actually pretty close, and if we poke our head up while it's firing, we pretty much die. Yeah. You saw the screen flash red there for a second, which means we were a couple hits away from losing. The explosive barrels predictably cause chain reactions, and they have a really wide radius. They won't hurt enemies that are behind cover, though. If the barrel is behind the cover with them, it'll hurt them, but if it's in front of the cover, it won't. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, considering how wide the explosive radius is otherwise. The screams in this game are so good. I can't decide if I mean that genuinely or not. We don't want to move up to take cover behind that box because our head will stick out. I learned that the hard way before. My aim is terrible. I really like third-person shooters too, so that's probably not a good sign. In the other levels, or missions, so to speak, there's a lot more water, but in this one it's kind of, oh, thank God there's water again. Sometimes the buttons we press do different things, but the things we do to press the button don't change any, so it's not really variety. It just kind of pretends to be. I obsessively scan before I get on land for enemies, even when I know they're not there. Because normal mode, again, has tailored me to be very fearful of anything unexpected. Even when all common sense tells me otherwise. Something I think this game did well is that we can roll into cover by pressing X halfway through our roll. I knew that guy was going to run at me. That's why I shot the barrel ahead of time.
Some kind of experimental grenades. Looks like they're EMP equipped.
Copy that, Lieutenant. Now move.
Got a visual on the fuel converter.
Throwing grenades from cover is not a good idea because he takes forever to do it. We can throw them nearly instantly if we're out of cover, but you're never really in a position to be out of cover while you're fighting. Save for a specific boss fight. Also, when do we get explosives? I mean, we didn't know the mission was going to go this way, so why do we have explosives? Presumably, they didn't use telekinesis to transport the explosives into our pocket. We're just going to rule that out.
I've acquired a data disk.
Good work, Pierce.
I think it's kind of funny that the game implements generic data disks instead of CDs or any other kind of actual storage device. Something that looks a little bit like a UMD on the PlayStation Portable. But more glowy and with the tail sticking out of it. Okay, so maybe it doesn't look like that very much. At all. This is where the game starts putting explosive barrels in places where we take cover. Which is actually something I think is pretty neat. And I wish more third-person shooters did that. There are no medics here. There are never any medics. Also, there are an awful lot of men with guns in this laboratory. I wouldn't put my money on there being so many. Maybe they double as scientists. You never know.
Chargers are set.
Copy that, Pierce. Now get moving.
This part really isn't that difficult unless you're overly methodical.
Moving now.
And there's no reason to be. I feel like maybe these guys should be running for the exit. Like we are. Instead of trying to kill us right now. I mean, granted, they don't know we put explosives there. But the whole place is shaking. And exploding. So something bad is going on. Maybe they're just that loyal. Again, I really love the shotgun. You only have to poke out for a very short time, and it's easy to just shoot them right in the head. Surprise, there's more. If you try and move in too close when the second wave comes, they'll run up and try and melee you. And then the other guy will shoot you in the face and you'll die. No exceptions. So the best course of action is to roll backward and get back in your original place of cover. There's only one more enemy between us and the exit. Really, he shouldn't have bothered. He should have gotten the hell out while he could. Too late now, though, isn't it?
It's sinking in. I'm not gonna get a shot at Al Azrod.
I know. Look, man. We'll get our payback. Right now, we gotta focus on this cluster frag of an operation.
Copy that. I should have known Sterling had stabbed me in the back somehow.